She gave up food for books. Then a billionaire CEO made a shocking decision at midnight. In the quiet town of Maplewood, a mystery brewed beneath the mundane surface. Sarah, a bookworm with wild curls and sparkling eyes, had made a notorious choice. She decided to give up food entirely. The library, with its towering shelves and dusty tomes, had taken over her life. She was known to dive into books for hours, practically living off the pages themselves. But who could blame her? Each story was a world, a meal of emotions, far more satisfying than anything from her neglected kitchen. Townsfolk whispered about her eccentricity, casting glances filled with concern and curiosity as they passed her by. Then came the fateful night. The clock struck midnight, sending echoes through the deserted streets. Mr. Fletcher, the billionaire CEO of a thriving tech empire, found himself awake in his luxurious penthouse. He had just returned from a lavish gala, where laughter mingled with the scent of expensive cologne and champagne. As he scrolled through his phone, he stumbled upon an article about Sarah's strange decision. An inexplicable tug in his gut led him to something beyond mere interest. It felt like destiny. Suddenly the air turned electric, as if the universe had drawn a line between his life of wealth and her life of sacrifice. What would prompt him to pull a stunt so shocking? He had everything: power, influence, and riches, but lacked the vibrancy and passion that Sarah had radiated through her choices. The cold glint of his watch showed it was nearly 1 a.m. when an impulsive thought struck him: what if he could change her life forever? Just then, the weight of his decision crashed upon him. He couldn't help but feel a flutter of anxiety deep in his chest. Could one simple choice alter the course of their lives and unravel the roots of his seemingly perfect world? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Mr. Fletcher's heart raced as he took a deep breath, the decision dawning on him like the first rays of sun breaking through night. He typed quickly, his fingers trembling over the keys. He was about to swing open a door to a life-changing opportunity. But what would come next? Would Sarah accept his offer, or would the truth of his intentions send her running for cover? With the stakes higher than ever, the night stretched on, wrapping them both in its shroud of uncertainty. Mr. Fletcher's heart thundered in his chest as he pressed send. The message sliced through the silence of the night like a blade. Would Sarah even see it? Would she know who it was from? Questions flooded his mind like a torrent, drowning out reason. He leaned back in his chair and watched the screen, waiting for the little dots that marked her typing, but nothing appeared. Across town, Sarah's world was uninterrupted by the deep hum of uncertainty that had taken hold of Mr. Fletcher. Instead, she was curled up in her favorite library nook, the musty scent of old pages surrounding her. Drowned in the book that had captured her once more, she lost herself in a labyrinth of plots, people, and places. Just as the heroine faced her moment of peril, the beam of her phone lit up, casting a glow across the stack of novels. It was a notification. As Sarah squinted at the screen, disbelief washed over her. Her heart raced. Could it actually be? The name on the screen almost felt fictional, something plucked straight from the pages of her most outrageous fantasies. It's real, she whispered, her heart hammering louder. She quickly read the message. The invitation was straightforward yet monumental. Mr. Fletcher wanted to meet her to discuss her choice. She felt a whirlwind of emotions. Excitement warred with fear. Did he want to help? Or was he coming to gawk at her, the strange girl who deprived herself of food? Could someone like him truly understand? In her mind, images collided. His world of extravagant galas and wealth, her universe of books and silence. Was the space between them too vast to cross? And yet, hope flickered within her. What if he believed in her? Back in the penthouse, Mr. Fletcher paced, his luxurious space suddenly feeling stifling. He had soared high in the stratosphere of fortune, but now, he felt grounded by a fear that drew deep lines across his brow. Was reaching out to Sarah the right move, or a reckless gamble? His phone buzzed violently, jolting him from his thoughts. It was her. For a split second, he couldn't breathe. What would she say? Would she perceive his message as genuine or manipulative? He fumbled to open the text, reading it with urgency. Her reply was brief but chaotic, filled with a mix of excitement and apprehension. He could feel the weight of her decision through the screen, as palpable as the anxiety in his chest. They were both unmoored in their own sea of fears, her in the world of books where safety lay, and him in a world where every choice turned into a negotiation. Could they meet in the middle without miscalculating their desires? His phone chimed again. Each notification felt like a countdown. Time was slipping through his fingers as if he were running a race he hadn't prepared for. Mr. Fletcher took a deep breath, his resolve hardening. "I'm not afraid," he told himself, his gaze locking confidently into the distance. He was determined to follow through, to step into her realm, bringing with him the promise of something that could change both their lives. As Sarah stared at her screen, pondering her next move, she decided in that moment to abandon the shadows of uncertainty. Should she trust him? What awaited her on the other side if she said yes? The fibers of fate began to twist tightly around them, ready to weave their destinies into something unpredictable. Little did they know, a storm was brewing, a whirlwind of complications would blur the lines, revealing that the connection they sought would bring both danger and passion. But what other secrets lay hidden in the shadows of their intertwining paths? Would they emerge unscathed, or would the weight of their choices pull them down into darkness? With a deep breath, Sarah finally gathered her courage and typed a response. Her fingers hovered above the screen, tremors of anticipation bouncing within her. She wanted to ask if he truly understood her struggles, if money could bridge the chasm between them. But the clock kept ticking, gnawing at her gut. She pressed send, the message disappearing into the digital ether. Seconds stretched like hours, leaving her wound tight with uncertainty. The library around her faded, books lost their allure. Her world narrowed down to that little screen, the stakes suddenly colossal. Finally, her phone vibrated again, and her heart skipped. Mr. Fletcher's message came through, his words calculated yet warm. "Let us meet," it said, complete with a time and place. A quaint cafe in the city, away from the eyes that might judge. A mix of excitement and apprehension surged through her. What would it be like to sit across from him? Would the wealthy man be kind, or would he direct her life as if she were a mere project? But as she glanced at the clock, she felt the pull of destiny. Outside in the crisp evening air, the city hummed with life. Each step toward the cafe felt heavy yet electrifying. Would they be worlds apart, or could they connect? Once she arrived, she scanned the crowd, a knot forming in her stomach. Nervously, she tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, her fingers grazing the smooth surface of the table. She spotted Mr. Fletcher seated in a corner. He was dressed impeccably, looking every bit the part of a CEO. When he noticed her, his expression softened, a flicker of recognition lighting his eyes. But what lay beneath that charm? Was it sincerity or just an act? "Sarah," he said, his voice rich and inviting. "I'm glad you came." "Me too," she replied, though her heart raced. "I wasn't sure if let's just talk," he interrupted gently, as if sensing her hesitation. He leaned forward, looking intently at her, searching for something. Was it understanding? Empathy? Or was he simply another figure in her life ready to dissect her choices? As they exchanged pleasantries, Sarah forced herself to listen, to absorb every word, every nuance. He spoke of his extravagant lifestyle, the pressures of his role, and the loneliness that shadowed his success. But did he truly grasp her reality? Did he comprehend how an invitation to meet exposed her vulnerabilities like a raw wound, Just then, an overheard conversation at the next table caught her attention. A couple was discussing a scandal involving a missing charity fund and a distant connection to Mr. Fletcher. The words hung in the air, tangled with implications. "He's not who you think he is," one whispered to the other, casting a side glance toward their table. A chill crept up Sarah's spine. What did they know? Mr. Fletcher suddenly looked serious, his eyes narrowing as he continued speaking. "I want to help you, Sarah. I believe in your potential. But I need you to trust me." The sincerity in his voice was undeniable, but doubt lingered in her mind like smoke. The very air felt thick with tension. Just as she was about to respond, her phone vibrated again, a message from an unknown number. She hesitated, but her curiosity overpowered her uncertainty. As she opened the text, the words shattered the moment. "You have no idea who he really is." Her heart pounded violently. Was this a warning? Had she stepped into a web larger than herself? The sound of her pulse thundered in her ears, drowning out everything else. What was she getting herself into? Would Mr. Fletcher guide her further into the light, or pull her deeper into the shadows? And what of this new mystery, this looming threat in the periphery? She glanced up at him as he watched her closely. Suddenly, the cafe, the city, even her mind all felt like a dangerous maze leading nowhere. "Sarah?" His voice drew her back. "Do you really want to help me?" She blurted, the words escaping before she could think. More than you know. But could she ever truly know what she would find on this journey they were embarking on together? The shadows whispered secrets all around them, and something deep within Sarah urged her to listen. Just as Sarah's eyes met Mr. Fletcher's, the weight of her uncertainty intensified. She felt vulnerable, exposed. The cafe buzzed with chatter, the hum of conversation a stark contrast to the chaos in her mind. The couple seated next to them had shifted back, their scandalous whispers now swirling behind her like a dark cloud d'amar. Fletcher was still leaning in, his intensity almost unbearable. "Sarah, you're bright. You're driven. With the right guidance, you could achieve anything you want." Was he truly sincere, or was there a depth to his charm that she had yet to uncover? She wanted to squeeze the truth out of him, but the thrill of doubt coursed through her veins. The text message loomed over her, its shadow flickered in the corners of her mind like the dim lights flickering above them. "Right guidance?" she echoed, forcing herself to sound curious rather than suspicious. "Yes." His expression turned serious, drawing her in with earnest eyes. "To succeed in this world, sometimes you need a mentor. Someone who has already walked the path." "What's the catch?" she challenged, the instinct to protect herself hardening her tone. He leaned back slightly, the confidence in his posture a fortress against her probing. "No catch, just opportunity." Outside, a wave of cold wind surged through the cafe door as someone entered, and she felt a shiver run through her. For a fleeting moment, she glanced back. A man in a dark coat lingered at the entrance, his gaze sweeping across the patrons as if looking for something or someone. "Just promise me you'll think it over. I see potential in you that others overlook." Mr. Fletcher's gentle tone cut through her disquiet, though a nagging question clawed at her. "And what if I don't want to live my life under someone else's control?" "Control?" He smiled smoothly, but something calculated flickered behind his eyes. "You'd never be controlled. It's about partnership." Was he selling her on a new vision of her future? Was she truly prepared to accept his path, even if the whispers around them suggested darkness? Before she could respond, her phone buzzed urgently again. His expression momentarily cracked, an edge of concern flashing across his face. Instinctively, she glanced down. Another message. This one was more direct: "Get out while you can. He has enemies, serious ones." Her breath hitched. This was getting too dangerous, too personal. What kind of enemies? What kind of life was she stepping into? She struggled to focus on Mr. Fletcher's words. They were starting to blur into an indistinct hum. Do you trust me? He asked, leaning in once more, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper that demanded an answer. Sarah felt her heart hammering. The tension between them grew heavier, but every instinct screamed at her that she was on the edge of a precipice. "This is moving too fast," she finally blurted. "I need time to think." Time felt like a luxury she did not possess. "Of course." He sat back, a shadow of disappointment crossing his features, but there was something else, something fractional that suggested this wasn't over. "But time waits for no one, Sarah. Things are changing rapidly, and you might miss your chance." The cafe noise faded in and out, but the man at the door had stepped forward, his eyes locked onto theirs. Sarah felt a ripple of unease. She turned to him and caught his gaze. He was watching her now, as if she were the key to something larger. Mr. Fletcher straightened suddenly, his demeanor shifting as he looked over her shoulder. She turned just in time to see the man's determined stride toward her table, his face obscured by shadows but urgency radiating from him like a heatwave. "What do you risk to find the truth?" he asked, his voice low and intense as he neared, stirring the air thick with tension around them. Sarah's pulse quickened, and a choice crystallized before her: stay in this suddenly webbed world of secret deals and veiled threats, or shatter her comfort zone and step into the unknown. As she opened her mouth to respond, the flicker of doubt remained. What did it mean to trust? What awaited her on the other side? The man continued toward them, the hour growing late, and every second felt like a countdown. Would she find security in Mr. Fletcher's offer, or was there a greater danger masking her destiny? Sarah, Mr. Fletcher's voice cracked the air like a whip, pulling her focus back to him just as the stranger reached the table, the air thick with unspoken danger. "Are you ready to face the truth?" he asked, his eyes piercing through the veil of uncertainty. And in that moment, Sarah realized the truth was the last thing she had ever wanted to confront. What now? What lay ahead was shrouded in shadows, pressing dangerously toward light. The man stepped closer, and with each stride, Sarah felt the air grow thick, wrapping around her like a suffocating fog. His dark coat fluttered slightly, catching the cafe's dim light, revealing a sense of urgency that demanded attention. There was something about his presence, an undeniable gravity that seemed to draw her in. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice barely rising above the cafe's buzz. He paused, taking a breath that stilled the world around them. "My name is Oliver. I'm not here to hurt you, but to warn you." "Warn me?" Sarah's heart raced. "About what?" He glanced at Mr. Fletcher, a flicker of recognition sparking in his eyes. The older man's expression remained unreadable, like a polished stone hiding its cracks. "Fletcher isn't who he appears to be." "You must leave with me now," Oliver urged, his voice urgent yet calm, creating an eerie contrast. The barista shuffled by, her arms stacked with cups, oblivious to the tension boiling over the table. Sarah felt frozen, her instincts battling each other. "Why should I trust you?" "Because you just received a message warning you." "I saw everything from the doorway." "I can't let you fall into his web," Oliver insisted. His eyes were serious, and for the first time, Sarah noticed the nervous flicker beneath his calm exterior. Still, Mr. Fletcher's intense presence loomed, filling the space around them like an ominous cloud. "Do you really think I would let harm come to you, Sarah?" he asked, his smile never reaching his eyes. She could feel the stakes soaring, the consequences of either decision curling around her like barbed wire. Stay or leave. But how could she step away from the allure of potential that Fletcher promised? "Don't you see? This is a game for him," Oliver pressed, his voice low, holding her gaze so tightly that the clamor of the cafe faded completely. "You're not just a name on a list, you're a pawn in his twisted ambitions." Beneath the table, Sarah's hands trembled. The truth sank slowly, creeping through her doubts like a dark thought refusing to fade. "You don't know me," she replied defensively. "I know enough," Oliver countered. "You're driven, ambitious. He sees that, and it's dangerous for you." Just let me show you. Temperature dropped as Oliver spoke. The sparkle of the cafe's lights dimmed, and her doubts bubbled back up. Mr. Fletcher shifted, the tightness in his posture growing, signaling a crack in his facade. Do you truly think running away will solve anything? He interjected, a subtle menace threading through his calm demeanor. Or staying will endanger your future, Sarah, Oliver shot back, glancing at her phone as it buzzed again, its presence a stubborn reminder of the dark game unfolding. Listen to me, Fletcher urged, tension knitting into his brows. This is no time for panic. You're overlooking the bigger picture. I can elevate you. But time is running out. Running out? Oliver laughed dryly, desperation dripping from his words. Time is all you have now, Sarah. The real trap is here, it's all around you. The cafe suddenly grew quieter as patrons sensed the mounting tension. Conversations hushed, and knowing glances shifted toward Sarah's corner, eyes filled with curiosity tinged with fear. Sarah's own heart thundered, fear mingling with adrenaline. She could feel the eyes of strangers on her, their whispers echoing back to her, urging her toward one choice or the other. It was as if her life was dissected before her, an open book filled with chapters yet unwritten. Choose wisely, Mr. Fletcher said, a darkness looming underneath his words. For one breathless moment, everything hung in balance. A clock ticked somewhere in the background, a reminder that decisions, real ones, sometimes come with soundtracks. Just then, her phone buzzed again, jarring her from the moment. It was another text, and her hands fumbled to see what it said. They are coming for you. Her heart stopped. She looked from Oliver to Mr. Fletcher, and back again. What was the truth? As the shadows began to close in, Sarah realized her time was slipping away. Every second felt like a countdown, every look a question, and every word a choice. Where was her redemption? What past had she stepped into now? With that, the pieces slipped away and what lay ahead felt darker than ever. The tension in the cafe hung like a thick curtain, obscuring reality. Sarah's heart raced as she continued to glance between Oliver and Fletcher, her mind a whirlwind of doubts and possibilities. The cafe's rhythmic hum suddenly felt oppressive, every breath heavy with decision. Who sent that message? Sarah whispered, the syllables barely escaping her lips. Her phone still buzzed on the table, persistent, demanding her attention. Oliver leaned in, his voice pitched low to avoid attracting the attention of the nearby patrons. There are people watching you. You need to trust me. If Fletcher is involved, things are worse than you can imagine. Fletcher's smile had faltered, replaced now with a glare sharper than she'd ever seen. You're listening to a raving lunatic, Sarah. He has been following you. This is his way of pulling you away from what truly matters, he said, each word dripping with condescension. I promise, he has nothing but deception to offer. The barista returned to their table, placing a steaming cup in front of Sarah. The liquid swirled, casting shadows on the table, and for a split second, the warmth was a reminder of normalcy in the chaos. But only for a moment. Can I get you anything else? She asked, oblivious to the storm brewing at the table. Sarah shook her head and felt her nerves coil tighter. I need to know more. Before she could finish, her phone buzzed again, a new notification. She hesitated but picked it up. It was an email this time, and her stomach twisted. Subject, quick update on your application. She opened it, her hopes instantly crashing as her eyes scanned the harsh words. We regret to inform you the weight of rejection felt like a physical blow. She dropped the phone on the table, and all the air seemed to rush out of her, leaving a tightness in her chest. The cafe blurred as her vision wavered. Don't let this distract you, Oliver's voice cut through her fog. You've got to choose. Please. Come with me. Where? The pit in her stomach shifted with uncertainty. Fletcher leaned forward, urgency dripping from his every word. This is a game to him, Sarah. If you leave now, you are giving up everything you've worked for. The pressure built as Oliver and Fletcher stared each other down, words like weapons thrown between them, each seeking to penetrate her resolve. Outside, the world rushed by, people unaware of the choices crashing down inside the cafe. A man with his dog stopped by the window, and for a brief moment, Sarah wished she could simply walk away, slip outside, and leave it all behind, but the reality was much darker. Each option felt like an abyss. Choosing Fletcher meant embracing the last remnants of her dreams with no guarantee they were real. Choosing Oliver meant stepping into uncertainty, an unknown that filled her with dread. Then her phone buzzed again. Frantically, she picked it up, glancing at the screen. A photo. Dark figures blurry in the background. The caption read, "They are getting closer." Panic flooded her veins as she looked up at Oliver, the stranger, with a warning. "What do you mean?" she rasped. "They aren't just watching, Sarah. They're coming for you. And if I don't get you out of here, it won't be Fletcher you need to worry about." Time sped up, options gloriously torn apart as adrenaline coursed through her. With every instinct screaming at her, she needed to act. Suddenly, the cafe door swung open. A gust of chilling wind billowed through the room, and the figures from the photo slipped inside, their presence turning the air electric. Fletcher's smile disappeared entirely. "What have you done?" he hissed. All eyes shifted to the newcomers, but when they locked onto Sarah, it felt as though the room itself had turned toxic, swirling with whispers of a threat that could no longer be ignored. In that moment, the gravity of her decision was clearer than ever, and she could almost taste the freedom on her tongue or the imprisonment that loomed ahead. "Come with me now," Oliver shouted above the din of the cafe as the shadows closed in around them. As the figures approached, Sarah's world slowed. Her very soul felt torn between the world she wanted and the tempest that threatened to engulf her. The decisive moment was here, and no amount of hesitation would shield her from the chaos that was about to erupt. What would she choose? She took a step back, heart racing, and realized that heading toward safety meant leaving everything she once believed behind, but what lay ahead was an even darker mystery waiting to unfold. The moment hung heavy, suspended in dread. Sarah's instinct to escape surged as she faced the figures now advancing toward her. Shadows danced across their faces, distorting familiarity into menace. Her heart hammered, a frantic metronome that urged her to run. Oliver's hand shot out, grasping her wrist with a grip that sent a shock wave through her. "We have to go." His urgency tugged at something deep within her, a flicker of hope amidst the chaos. Fletcher launched himself forward, eyes wild. "Sarah! You can't trust him. It's all a trick." His voice was a desperate crescendo, spiraling into the tense atmosphere of the cafe. Patrons began to murmur, anxiety rippling through the room. Forks clattered onto plates as onlookers exchanged worried glances. Before Sarah could form a response, the dark figures parted, and one stepped forth. A woman, striking and composed, wore a tight-lipped smile that radiated something equal parts authority and menace. She surveyed the cafe with a predatory gaze, then turned it to Sarah. "There you are," she purred, her voice silky and dangerous. "You've kept us waiting." Oliver's grip tightened, his eyes darting between Sarah and the new threat. "Don't engage, just listen to me." The tension in Sarah's chest swelled. "Who are you?" she managed to ask, though every word felt like a gamble. The woman advanced slightly, her presence magnetic. "My name is Evelyn, but you can call me the one who makes decisions for you." "You've stirred the pot, Sarah. It's time to see how deep it goes." Oliver stepped forward, positioning himself protectively between Sarah and Evelyn. "Stay away from her." The passion in his voice sent a pulse of warmth through Sarah, even as dread weighed her down. Evelyn's expression shifted, amusement flickering across her features. "This isn't about you. This is about the girl in the spotlight." She lifted her chin, her posture regal. "Sarah, you've had your taste of the ordinary, but your raw potential is wasted on that mundane life. Come with me, and I guarantee you'll see just how extraordinary you can become. The offer dangled before Sarah like a ripe fruit, tantalizing yet dangerous. Could she trust this stranger? What would it cost her? Fletcher interjected, his tone laced with fervor. Don't do this, Sarah. She'll use you. He shot a glance toward Oliver, who remained resolute, eyes locked on Evelyn. I'm begging you to think about this carefully. What you want is right in front of you, but it may not be what you think. The air thickened with silence, everyone hanging on Sarah's next movement. Her heart raced between choices, oscillating between the safe, familiar life Fletcher represented and the unknown promise of adventure Evelyn offered. Choose wisely, Sarah, Evelyn said, taking a step forward. This moment defines you. Are you going to stay behind, or will you embrace the power waiting for you? The finality of those words reverberated, echoing through Sarah's mind like a drumbeat. Sarah felt the weight of the decision envelope her. The cafe, once a refuge, now felt like an inescapable cage. The world outside her window swirled, full of people blissfully unaware of the volcanic storm brewing within her. She could feel her pulse quicken, a tidal wave of emotions crashing against each other. If she turned her back on this, would she regret it forever? And if she ventured down this darker path, how would it change her? Just as she was about to speak, a loud crash echoed from the cafe entrance. The door burst open, and chaos erupted as a man stumbled inside, breathless, eyes wild with fear. They're coming for us. All of us. Run. The warning sent shockwaves through the cafe, panic igniting like a fuse. Sarah's heart sank further. She thought she had moments to decide, but now the lines of choice blurred as uncertainty clawed at her mind. Evelyn's cool demeanor cracked slightly, and she glanced toward the door, assessing the new threat. With chaos closing in and urges to flee threatening to drown her, Sarah was forced to confront the very essence of her desires as the storm closed in. What would she decide when time itself was slipping away? Would she unlock the door to her destiny, or would she bolt for the familiar safety of the past? The cafe erupted in a cacophony of shouts and rushing feet. Chairs slid away, and the smell of hot coffee mingled with fear hanging thick in the air. Sarah was paralyzed, her mind racing. The urgency of the man's warning snapped her senses into sharp focus. Run. The word pushed through her like a physical force, begging her to leap into action. Oliver, still gripping her wrist, turned toward the chaos. We need to get out of here now. His voice sliced through the panic, commanding and clear, yet laced with tension. Evelyn's expression morphed. The poised exterior cracked, revealing the sharp edge of frustration. No. Stay where you are. She commanded with an icy determination, her tone brooking no argument. Fletcher ran forward, desperation distorting his features. We can't just stand here. If they're coming for us, we have to leave. The realization of the impending danger galvanized the crowd, pushing its rogue currents through the uncertain air. Who is coming? Sarah shouted over the increasing din, her heart thudding painfully in her chest. She looked at Oliver, hoping for clarity amid the chaos. But Oliver's gaze was fixated on Evelyn, a silent battle playing out in the charged space between them. Those who want to control you, Evelyn said, undeterred, her voice rising above the tumult. But if you choose me, we can fight back. The weight of her proposition hung in the air, tantalizing yet dangerously shrouded in shadows. A shatter of glass sent everyone into a flurry, and Sarah flinched, instinctively pulling away from the commotion. Fletcher reached out, his eyes wide, panic-stricken. You can't trust her. We have to leave now. Evelyn, sensing her moment slipping away, stepped closer. The magnetic pull of her persona was enveloping. You have a choice, Sarah. You can remain in fear, she gestured to the chaotic scene, or you can step into a world of power and control. I can teach you. Sarah's breath hitched. The question was on repeat in her mind, did she want what Evelyn was offering? Behind her, the door rattled as if something sinister lurked beyond it, waiting to break through. The man who had barged in was frantically pointing towards the back entrance. "They're everywhere." His voice trembled, deepening the unnerving panic. "We're surrounded." Panic surged in Sarah, mingling with an unsettling allure. What power could she grasp? What would surrendering to Evelyn truly mean? Suddenly, Oliver's voice boomed, firm and unwavering. "We're leaving." He pulled Sarah toward the exit, his determination igniting an urgency within her. She glanced back at Evelyn, who stood defiantly, her smile like fading smoke. "Sarah. Make your choice." Evelyn's words seemed to pierce through the swirling chaos, leaving a burning question in the steamy air. Would she risk everything? Just as Sarah turned to follow Oliver, another crash erupted from the back of the cafe, and a group of shadowy figures appeared, their intentions dark and palpable. The crowd recoiled, screams piercing the air as fear swept through like wildfire. In that moment, Sarah's world narrowed. A flash of conviction blazed in her heart. Was this the moment when she decided to fight for her own fate, or would she succumb to the forces pushing at her? As the figures moved closer, uncertainty gripped her. She felt Oliver squeeze her hand. "Sarah, we have to go." But as the figures arrived, one thing became clear: either way, everything was about to change. Would she give in to the unknown, or would she take a stand against the tide swallowing the cafe whole? The choice felt weighty, a decision that could haunt her forever. In the swirling chaos, she heard a whisper that rooted deep into her soul, begging for an answer, and she knew she had only moments left. What would it be? A desperate escape into the night, or embracing the unknown in search of her true power? Instinct kicked in and Sarah was running. Her feet pounded the floor, a blur of movement toward the door. Oliver had a grip on her arm, his urgency matching the terror blooming inside her. They darted through the wreckage of overturned tables and shattered glass, blinking lights and screams swirling around them like a storm. Behind them, shadows morphed into figures, their faces obscured but their aggressive intent palpable. The air thrummed with dread as more people huddled in panic, trying to escape the grasp of chaos. But Sarah couldn't think. All that mattered was getting away from whatever danger lurked just behind them. "Keep moving," Oliver shouted, pulling her closer as they bolted toward the exit. Adrenaline surged, warming her skin. Despite the fear tightening around her heart, they burst through the cafe doors, the cool night air shocking her senses. It was a brief relief until she took in the street. The lights from passing cars cast an ominous glow, illuminating scared faces a few steps away. It felt as if the world had tilted, and Sarah was stumbling off the edge. "Where do we go now?" she gasped, looking at him, frantic. Oliver's eyes darted down the street, searching for a pathway through the madness. "We can try the alley." He motioned towards a narrow passage just ahead, shadowed and dark. "Are you sure?" She hesitated. A chill crawled down her spine at the thought of slipping into unknown darkness. "Trust me." His intensity left no room for doubt. For just a moment, the bond between them felt stronger than the chaos, power in his certainty radiating through her fear. With a nod, Sarah followed him into the alley, her breath coming fast and heavy. The walls closed in, the darkness nearly suffocating. But before they could gather their bearings, a loud crash echoed from the cafe behind them. "They're coming." Fletcher's voice cut through the night, panic etched in every syllable. He was right behind them, gasping for breath with Evelyn hot on his heels. "Don't stop," Oliver urged, dragging her deeper into the shadows. Fletcher stumbled, his eyes darting toward the entrance where shadows spilled out like ink, hungry and searching. Just then, Evelyn surged past them, a determined glimmer in her eyes. "You need to understand," she shouted, her tone desperate yet unmistakably commanding. "No one is safe without power." "What does that even mean?" Sarah yelled back, fear mixing with frustration. They needed to escape, not engage. But Evelyn didn't answer. Instead, she slipped into the deeper recesses of the alley, her figure disappearing into the thick shadows. "Do we follow her?" Fletcher asked, panting. "She might know what is going on," Oliver suggested, though uncertainty crept into his voice. But the thought of venturing deeper into darkness felt wrong. Sarah clenched her fists, torn between fear and the lure of power Evelyn had dangled in front of her. A choice loomed, something monumental that they couldn't afford to ignore. "Let us keep moving," she said, her voice steadying. There had to be a way out, somewhere they could regroup and plan. They weaved through the maze of alleys, each turn feeling more disorienting than the last. Every shadow seemed tainted, every noise a harbinger of danger. But then they rounded a corner, and Sarah stopped in her tracks. A flicker of light broke through the suffocating darkness, a beacon shimmering at the edge of an open street. "Over there." She pointed, a mix of hope and fear rising in her gut. They rushed toward it, but the moment was shattered as a group of figures emerged from the mouth of the alley behind them, relentless and ominous. "Run!" Oliver shouted, his face a mask of resolve. As they stepped into the light, Sarah realized that the world beyond the shadows was not as safe as she had hoped. It was twisted and chaotic, reflecting the struggle that lay just beneath the surface. The figures were closing in, closing off their escape with a terrifying swiftness. "What now?" Fletcher's voice trembled, eyes wide with terror. In that heartbeat of panic, the world seemed to unravel. As they faced the malevolent force advancing on them, Sarah's mind raced. A part of her wanted to flee, but another part felt a deeper pull, the call for power, for control. Which path would she choose? With every second counting down to confrontation, she felt it, a weight heavy on her chest. Ahead, the flickering light dimmed. She had to act, but was she ready to confront what lay within? Everything was spiraling. The moment was here, and Sarah steeled herself, sensing the storm brewing around them, waiting for her to take a stand. Would she face the danger head-on, or would she succumb to the lure of darkness, tempted into a world she didn't fully understand? The answer loomed over her like a fate she had yet to grasp. How long until the choice was ripped from her grasp altogether? In the heart of darkness, with shadows looming and uncertainty echoing through the air, Sarah's pulse quickened as the world around her spiraled. The figures behind her were relentless, their menace palpable. But amidst the tidal wave of fear, a spark ignited within her, a burning determination to seize control of her narrative. "Now!" she shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. "We need to confront them." The decision felt monumental, empowering. She wasn't just fleeing anymore, she was stepping into her own strength. The flickering light ahead was a promise, a chance to reclaim her destiny, to use this confrontation not only to survive but to rise. As they turned to face the approaching figures, Oliver's grip tightened around her hand, grounding her. Fletcher's breath quickened beside them, his panicked energy infectious. "This is insane!" he exclaimed, desperation creeping into his voice. "We should," but Sarah cut in, fire coursing through her veins. "We must stand and fight. I can't keep running." An electrifying tension settled in the air as the figures drew closer, their intentions clear in their menacing strides. The leader stepped forward, Evelyn, her eyes fierce, a knowing smile dancing on her lips. "So you decide to embrace your potential after all," she remarked, her tone condescending yet oddly admiring. "I'm done playing your game, Evelyn." Sarah replied, her voice resonating with newfound authority. "Control isn't power. It's prison." The shift in energy was palpable, the atmosphere crackled with expectation. Sarah's heart raced, she could feel the eyes of her friends upon her, the expectations hanging thick in the air. This was her moment. With each thundering heartbeat, she recalled the hours spent lost among the pages of stories, tales of heroes who faced insurmountable odds. It was time for her to become one of them. "You think you can manipulate me?" she challenged, staring directly in the eyes of the woman who had tried to weave her life into a tapestry of deceit. "I'm not the same girl who entered the cafe. I'm stronger." A flicker of surprise crossed Evelyn's face, then quickly morphed into a calculated smile. Strength, yes. But strength without direction is meaningless, she retorted, her demeanor still calm, though the air surrounding her began to shift. Just then, Oliver stepped forward, his voice steady and clear. What do you want from Sarah? Evelyn's gaze flicked between them, irritation creeping into her cool demeanor. What do I want? Sarah is a prize in a game far more intricate than you realize. But her potential, it shouldn't be squandered on the likes of you, she spat, her eyes narrowing. Game? Prize? Sarah's voice was cutting. I'm not a commodity. Fletcher fumbled, sensing the tide of the conversation shifting. You should listen, Sarah. She knows things strategies know. The word burst forth from Sarah's lips with a fierceness that startled him. I am done being told what I should do. I will chart my own course. The shadows around them seemed to ripple like smoke, as her declaration solidified her resolve. The oncoming figures halted slightly, the clamor of chaos retreating into a whisper of uncertainty. As the moment settled, uncertainty morphed into determination, they would either stand together or fall apart. Sarah felt the weight of the choice before her, to fight for herself and the lives they could save or succumb to the shadows that whispered for control. Then step into the light, Evelyn challenged, her voice cool and dripping with condescension. You might just find it hotter than you bargained for. The group braced themselves as a sense of inevitability came crashing down. This was a collision of choices, a clash of destinies, and the time to act was now. Sarah felt it ripple through her, the threads of fate were not simply being woven but braided into something powerful. As the figures launched forward, Sarah squeezed Oliver's hand tighter, feeling his pulse synchronized with hers. Together, she said, her eyes sparking with fire. They would confront this tempest as one, shoulder to shoulder, bound by resolve. With a roar that reverberated through her core, she surged forward, no longer the girl trapped within pages of fiction, but a vibrant soul commanding her own story. And as chaos erupted, the real battle began, a fight for freedom, for identity, and for a future rewritten by the fierce hands of those who dared to grasp it. The shadows clashed with the light, breaking open a world of possibilities. They were all in this together now, ready to carve out a new beginning. Sarah's heart swelled with hope, knowing her journey was just beginning, unafraid to dive into the depths of the unknown, and just as the night swallowed the echoes of uncertainty, the bottom line shredded away to reveal new horizons bright with promise. Now, Sarah knew, embracing her power was not only a choice but a way to forge her destiny, one not just of survival but of triumph against the darkness. As they faced the shadows, ready to fight, she felt the weight of the world lift from her shoulders. The future was unwritten, and she would not shy away from its call. Just as she had always believed, sometimes it takes losing everything to uncover who you really are. In that pivotal moment, Sarah, Oliver, and Fletcher stood united, transformed by the storm they had braved together. True strength lies not in avoidance but in standing up and facing what looms before you, Sarah whispered to herself. I am no longer chained to my past, but a beacon for what lies ahead. And with that, the darkness faded, because true power comes not from control, but from the heart that beats with courage and hope. Now it was time to write the next chapter. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the thrilling follow-up to this incredible story. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this explosive ending. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. The journey continues.